So I suppose that the first thing to say is, are you happy to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure, of course. My name my name is Anka Mihaela Nikifor, and I'm an English teacher teaching in Argentina. I've been in Argentina for about 10 years. And yeah, I mostly
Where are
teach
you,
adults. Mhm.
you teach English to adults?
Yeah, I mostly teach English to adults, and I've been through more of the university system because I did my MA at the university. I have to admit, I don't have direct contact with primary or secondary school, but I have my sister-in-laws, both of them are teaching in primary school, and being an English teacher, most teachers have more than one job. So from my network, there are teachers who are working in high schools or could be in university, could be in elementary school, kind of a little bit all over. So yeah.
And which city are you in, if you're in a city?
Yes, so I'm located in Rio Cuarto, Córdoba, in the province of Córdoba, which is in the center of the country. So we're
Mm-hmm.
about 8 hours from the capital, from Buenos Aires. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Yeah.
No, it's one of those places I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to go. I've been in Buenos Aires, but only for a very short period of time.
Well,
So,
you're welcome to come and visit whenever you want. You have a place to
yeah,
stay.
I'd love. Yeah, it was a great place. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, what I'd like to ask is, you're an English teacher, and have you ever come across any issues with your students? And these are adult students, as you say. Have you ever come across any issues with your students about learning difficulties or dyslexia, or is there an awareness of dyslexia among Argentine adults?
Good. So, personally, no. I actually note that's a lie. I have one student who is dyslexic. She tells me she's dyslexic, and in her case, I actually teach her Spanish. So she's actually from the United States, and she doesn't mind saying that she has dyslexia. In general, I haven't met anybody else who's been open about it or that I've noticed in work
Yeah,
or anything like that.
yeah,
However, most of my work is oral. So my courses are communication in English, and it's mostly geared towards speaking. So I don't think I get as much of an opportunity to come across dyslexia as maybe other teachers have. But having said that, I know that dyslexia from a government point of view is recognized as, I guess they have something called specific learning disabilities, and it's considered a specific learning disability. And so, in that sense, the government does acknowledge it, and they acknowledge it for right of education to anybody who has dyslexia to be able to go to school kind of on an equal playing field.
So I suppose there's a couple of questions that come to my mind from this. The first is that, can I just ask you generally, do you reckon how many students have you taught in your time there? Maybe 100 or?
Well, we can do it in a very random way, but let's say I
Mhm.
have around 30 students a year, give or
Yeah,
take, right? And I've been here for 10 years. So
right.
let's say give or take 300 or more. I'd say, but let's
Yeah,
to make a round number, 300 students.
yeah. So let's say 300 students, and of those 300 students, we've found that there's one student who's open about being dyslexic, and she's an American.
Hmm.
Um, and you don't have those who are open about being dyslexic from Argentina. Now we can assume that around about 10% of Argentina is dyslexic. So we can assume that you might have had around about 30 dyslexic students. But because they're adults, maybe they haven't got this far if they're dyslexic. So we can, I don't know, half that. I
Hmm.
mean, even at the sort of the lowest estimate, you should have had 10, 15, 20 students. Um, who know that they're dyslexic, and you don't. Now, on the other hand, the government talks about it as a disability, a specific learning disability. What might be going on there? I know this is a leading question, but
Yeah.
is there perhaps a stigma, let's say?
Uh, that's very interesting. That's actually a very interesting question because I never thought about that. I know for sure a big problem is resources, and probably a lot of people don't end up being diagnosed. I noticed that that could be a factor too. But even if they were diagnosed, I think lack of resources is an issue. My sister-in-laws that teach, I asked them, they don't know, they know that they have students with learning disabilities in their classrooms. They can see that they have learning disabilities. I don't think that they know exactly what those learning disabilities are, and those students usually should have somebody accompanying them, and they don't.
Psychopedagogy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody exactly. Maybe somebody working with them, working with the teacher, kind of. And well, one of my sister-in-law, she teaches grade one, and she's the one who
Mm.
told me that she identifies these students. And the maybe, well, she has mentioned it to the parents, so the parents know. Um, I don't know what the parents are doing about it. So that's really interesting, your question, because are they not doing anything because of a stigma? Are they not doing anything because of economic possibility? Are they not? I mean, the government is apparently there, but I don't know if it is, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. And of course, you also said that, in maybe in grade one, they would have a. I mean, I don't know exactly, but would it be true that they'd have a psychopedagogica, if they call it psychopedagogica? What, I don't know what you call it, but somebody like that. They wouldn't necessarily have. Would they have a special class for kids with different learning needs? Would they have
I know.
into the class?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not, honestly, I think I should start off with I
Yeah.
don't know. I remember a few years back when I first came here that there was discussion about integrating people with special needs back into classrooms. I don't think they talked about special needs schools, like
Right.
separating them,
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah.
I would, but I don't know what they did before, and I
Mm,
don't
mm.
really know. So anyway, that.
Yeah. So is there a positive attitude around these things? I mean, we have potentially, talk about integrating students, but we also have, it's a specific learning disability. We have of the 300 students you've had, apparently none is dyslexic, although we can assume that that's incorrect. Is
Yeah.
what kind of social attitudes are there? Do people talk about it? Do they know about it? Is there an awareness?
This is a good question. I feel like you're right. I feel like there isn't dialogue about
Yeah.
it.
Mm.
Um, there aren't people really talking about it. I feel like if I asked, for example, my sister-in-laws who went to school to be teachers, elementary school teachers, did you receive training on how to deal with that with any
Yeah.
type of neurodivergent or any type of learning disability in general? And in general, no, but there are
Mhm.
guidelines. The guidelines that they are somewhere, but they don't
Yeah.
receive necessarily hands-on training for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And
then
is there? Yeah.
if,
Sorry.
yeah, and then if it's recognized, there's a little bit more support, but
Yeah.
but if it's not recognized, you know, in for a legal way, then they probably don't get the support that they need.
Mhm. Yeah.
And in general, people don't talk about it. So I wouldn't say that there's a stigma against it necessarily. Um, I don't think because also you never really come across it, right? So you never have the opportunity to talk about, oh, that dyslexic child or that autistic child or that child with Down syndrome or whatever. You don't really
Yeah. Yeah.
don't really have the conversations around it. Um, but in general, like special needs, I think there is an awareness. There is an awareness. people are aware, and I think it's a different world than it was when I was growing up, for sure, even in Argentina. Um,
Mhm.
but it's true that it's a little bit more quiet. Like nobody really talks about it, so you don't really know. I know from the teachers' point of views in general, they are overwhelmed by the class sizes as they are. And maybe there's 40 students that they have to teach, 46 years, 6-year-olds or whatever. And it becomes really difficult for that teacher to then individualize education
Yeah.
for, so the context, I think, narrows back down to resources, the lack of
It,
resources, basically.
yeah. It even becomes difficult not only for the teacher to individualize education, but I'm guessing for the teacher to recognize
Yeah,
when one of the children is struggling in specific ways. Because if they're dealing with 40, 45, 46 kids in a, or, 46-year-olds, not,
yeah.
they're dealing with 40 odd kids in a classroom,
Hmm.
and these kids are young, then they're going to be all, let's say, they're going to be acting as though they're young kids. And it's going to be difficult noticing which ones have specific needs. And without training, as you say, that there doesn't seem to be a lot of training.
Hmm.
Without that kind of training, then it'll be impossible. And probably even, I don't want to put thoughts into their heads or motivations into their heads, probably even there might be no motivation to single out children for
Yeah.
special
I don't
treatment, as
know.
it were.
Yeah, I don't, for me, I think it's also, I think it's more, even if they do say something,
Mm-hmm.
what is being done about it, from the point of the school or from the point of the family itself. You can point
Yeah,
it out so many times, but then if you
yeah,
don't see something happening, I don't know. I think it's but I think teachers have a huge responsibility as it is. I think that
yeah,
it's already difficult enough to the responsibility of teaching your next generation, essentially. And so that responsibility, if you're in that position, I would like to believe that if you do notice something different or abnormal or out of the norm, that you would speak up about it.
yeah,
I just feel like those teachers who are in those situations are probably powerless to a certain extent because if that child isn't diagnosed, then there isn't really much more that the teacher can do about it. And I think that that's, and then in the cases that there are, is there enough um, pedagogic help,
yeah,
on the side? Are there enough assistant teachers, let's say,
yeah,
to accommodate all of the students that need the help? I don't know. And I think that that's the issue is that support. Is it really there? I don't know. I feel like that's where the system fails the teachers too. Obviously, fails the student, but anyway.
yeah,
So I don't I would like to believe that, especially new teachers, I'd like to believe that inside of them, if they notice something's different, when you have, even if you have 20 students, you kind of notice trends, I think. Even me, if everybody can do it and you have, two or three students who can't do it, you can tell that, okay, but then, and there's some things that inside of me too. It's like, okay, but why can't they do it? I mean, I have that critical thinking always, and why aren't they doing it? So I'd like to believe that people who are in elementary or in high school or even in university, well, I don't know about university, but if you were in the formative years, let's say,
yeah,
but you would speak up and say, okay, there's something else happening there, but that's about all a teacher can do. And I think, well, again, if you don't know, I think from a point of, if I was put in that position, if I don't know what is going on, then I don't even know where to look for the information. Because if you don't know, I mean, you can wrongfully diagnose, let's say,
yeah,
dyslexia for some other situation, or hyper deficit disorder for some other situation, And then if you look at resources, maybe you're wrongfully using those resources because you don't know. So even if there is a guideline that you can go and read, you wouldn't know what to read if you don't know what the student
Yeah.
has, right?